Seduction is not about beauty, money, or manipulation. It is about power, timing, and understanding human psychology. Most people try to chase attention, but true seducers do the opposite. They create space, mystery, and emotional tension. In this video, we are diving deep into laws 16 to 20 from The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. And these laws will completely change the way you see attraction and influence. You will learn why absence can be more powerful than presence, how unpredictability keeps people emotionally hooked, why creating fantasy is stronger than showing reality, and how mastering emotional drama can pull people closer instead of pushing them away. These are not simple dating tricks. These are psychological strategies that have been used by powerful figures throughout history. If you understand these laws, you will stop trying to force attraction and start becoming magnetic naturally. But remember, seduction is a game of patience, control, and awareness. If you misuse these principles, they can backfire. So watch carefully, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand seduction, you will understand human nature on a deeper level. Asterisk. Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor when you are always present, always available, and always within reach. Your value slowly decreases. Human nature does not fully appreciate what it receives constantly. The more people see you, the more ordinary you become in their eyes. This law explains a simple but powerful truth. What is scarce becomes valuable, and what is too common loses its shine. Absence creates space, and in that space, desire grows. Robert Greene explains that too much presence creates familiarity, and excessive familiarity breeds contempt. When someone is constantly around, constantly talking, constantly giving attention, their presence becomes predictable. There is no anticipation, no emotional build-up. But when you withdraw at the right moment, something changes. People begin to feel your absence. They notice the silence. They start wondering where you are, what you are doing, and why you are not there. That wondering is powerful. It forces them to think about you. And the more they think about you, the stronger your image becomes in their mind. Absence works because the human imagination fills empty spaces with idealized versions of reality. When you are not physically present, people remember you selectively. They replay your best qualities and soften your flaws. Memory edits reality in your favor. This is why controlled withdrawal increases respect. It allows others to experience a sense of loss, and humans are naturally sensitive to loss. In fact, people often value something more when they feel it slipping away. However, this law is not about disappearing without reason or playing childish games. Timing is everything. You must first create impact. Before withdrawing, you need to establish connection, attraction, or influence. If you disappear before making an impression, you will simply be forgotten. Absence only increases value after presence has created meaning. First, you must make people feel your energy. Then, at the right moment when interest is growing, you step back. That step back creates emotional tension. Greene also connects this law to power and authority. Throughout history, leaders and powerful figures understood the importance of limited accessibility. They did not make themselves constantly available to everyone. Their rare appearances made their presence feel significant. Scarcity created respect. When access is limited, value increases. The same principle applies in seduction. If you respond instantly every time, if you are always free, always ready, you communicate that your time has little importance. But when you are selective with your availability, you send a message that your life is full and valuable. Absence also prevents boredom. Emotional intensity cannot survive constant exposure. Even strong attraction weakens if there is no space to breathe. By creating distance occasionally, you allow anticipation to build. Anticipation is often stronger than the actual moment. Waiting creates excitement. When someone knows they will not always have immediate access to you, every interaction feels more meaningful. Each meeting carries weight because it is not guaranteed. At the same time, balance is crucial. Too much absence can create insecurity or resentment. If you withdraw excessively, people may feel rejected rather than intrigued. The goal is rhythm, presence, and withdrawal, warmth and distance. This rhythm keeps emotions alive. It creates a dynamic flow instead of a flat, predictable pattern. Emotional highs and lows deepen attachment when controlled carefully. Ultimately, this law teaches that constant availability weakens impact, while strategic absence strengthens it. By stepping back at the right time, you allow desire to grow naturally. You let imagination do the work. You create space for longing, and longing increases value. When you master the art of leaving before you are taken for granted, your presence becomes something people respect, remember, and seek. Law 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Human nature craves comfort, routine, and emotional stability, but at the same time, it is deeply stimulated by uncertainty. When someone becomes completely predictable, their emotional impact weakens. If people always know how you will react, what you will say, and what you will feel, there is no tension left. You become easy to understand, easy to label, and eventually easy to ignore. This law teaches that unpredictability is a source of power. When others cannot fully figure you out, they remain alert. Their attention sharpens. They begin observing you more closely, trying to decode your behavior. That heightened attention creates fascination. Robert Greene explains that predictable patterns make people feel secure, but they also reduce emotional intensity. Once someone feels they have fully understood you, the mystery disappears. And without mystery, seduction fades. To keep interest alive, you must avoid falling into fixed emotional habits. If you are always cheerful, always available, always kind in the same way, you become familiar. Familiarity may create comfort, but it rarely creates excitement. The moment people think they have solved you, their curiosity declines. Unpredictability prevents that comfort from turning into boredom. The phrase suspended terror does not mean extreme fear. It refers to a subtle emotional tension, a feeling of uncertainty that keeps others slightly on edge. When someone is unsure how you will respond, they pay more attention. They choose their words carefully. They think twice before acting. This psychological effect increases your influence. Even small variations in behavior can create this effect. A person who is usually warm may suddenly become reserved. Someone who normally responds quickly may take their time. These small shifts break patterns, and when patterns break, the mind becomes alert. However, Greene warns that unpredictability must be controlled. Random, chaotic behavior destroys trust. The goal is not instability, but variation within stability. You should still appear centered and subtle. The unpredictability should feel intentional, not emotional weakness. If your mood swings are too extreme or too frequent, people will feel anxious in a negative way. The key is subtle change. a pause instead of an immediate answer, a calm response where anger was expected, a moment of silence where others assumed you would speak. These calculated shifts make you harder to read. Unpredictability also prevents others from manipulating you. When people can predict your reactions, they can control situations around you. If they know you will always forgive, they push boundaries. If they know you will always chase, they withdraw. But when your responses are not automatic, they hesitate. That hesitation creates respect. They cannot confidently push limits because they are unsure of the outcome. This psychological uncertainty strengthens your position. Greene also highlights that great seducers and powerful figures throughout history maintained influence by refusing to be easily understood. They revealed parts of themselves slowly. They changed rhythm. They surprised people. This kept their presence emotionally alive. When someone behaves the same way every single day, there is no emotional spike. But when behavior shifts slightly and strategically, it creates impact. Human beings are wired to respond strongly to surprise. Surprise breaks routine and demands attention. Another important element of this law is emotional control. To be unpredictable in a powerful way, you must first control your own reactions. If you are emotionally reactive, your unpredictability will look like immaturity. But if you are calm and deliberate, your unpredictability will look mysterious. Mystery increases attraction because it leaves space for imagination. When people cannot fully define you, they project their own fantasies onto you. That projection strengthens emotional attachment. In the end, this law is about refusing to become ordinary. Predictability makes you safe but forgettable. Controlled unpredictability makes you intriguing and unforgettable. By avoiding fixed patterns, introducing subtle variations, and maintaining emotional balance, you keep others mentally engaged. They watch you more closely. They think about you more deeply. And the more mental space you occupy, the stronger your influence becomes. Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. It's natural to want protection. When people feel hurt, betrayed, or uncertain, their first instinct is to withdraw. They build emotional walls. They reduce contact. They convince themselves that distance equals safety. This law warns that isolation may feel secure in the short term, but in seduction and power, it is dangerous. When you cut yourself off from others, you lose influence. And without influence, attraction slowly dies. Robert Greene explains that seduction requires connection. You cannot affect people if you are distant from them. A fortress protects you from attack, but it also prevents interaction. The more isolated you become, the less aware you are of what others think, feel, and desire. You begin to operate inside your own assumptions. That disconnect weakens your ability to respond strategically. Power and attraction depend on reading people accurately. Isolation blocks that awareness. When someone withdraws completely, others stop feeling their presence. Emotional bonds weaken without regular contact. Out of sight often becomes out of mind. While Law 16 teaches the power of controlled absence, Law 18 clarifies the difference between strategic withdrawal and total isolation. Strategic absence creates desire because it is temporary and intentional. Isolation, however, creates distance that becomes permanent. If you remain hidden for too long, people adjust to your absence. They move on. The emotional space you once occupied gets filled by someone else. Greene also points out that isolation breeds fear. When you remove yourself from social environments, your imagination starts creating exaggerated threats. Without real interaction, small problems appear larger. You lose perspective. In seduction, confidence is essential. Isolation slowly erodes confidence because you are no longer practicing social awareness. You are not testing your charm, your presence, or your emotional intelligence. Over time, you become disconnected from the rhythm of human interaction. Another danger of isolation is loss of information. Influence depends on knowing what is happening around you, who is close to whom, who is feeling insecure, who is seeking attention. These details are only visible when you are socially active. If you withdraw too much, you become blind to these dynamics. And when you are blind to social movement, you cannot control or guide it. Seduction is not passive. It requires awareness and participation. Greene also explains that people are naturally drawn to those who are socially connected. Someone surrounded by others appears valuable. Social proof increases attraction. When you isolate yourself, you reduce that visible value. Humans instinctively assume that if someone is always alone, there must be a reason. Fair or unfair, perception shapes reality. Staying engaged with people keeps your presence alive in their minds. It shows that you are desired and socially relevant. However, this law does not mean constant exposure or desperation for attention. There is a difference between healthy presence and needy visibility. The goal is balanced engagement. You remain socially active, but you do not overexpose yourself. You participate in conversations, maintain connections, and observe dynamics, but you do not cling. You remain in circulation. Circulation keeps energy flowing. Isolation also removes mystery in a negative way. Mystery works when it is combined with visibility. People must see you enough to be intrigued. If they rarely see you at all, there is no intrigue, only absence. Mystery requires contrast, moments of presence followed by slight withdrawal. Total isolation eliminates that rhythm completely in the end. Law 18 teaches that safety through isolation is an illusion. True strength comes from engagement. You cannot influence people from a distance. You cannot maintain attraction from behind walls. Staying connected keeps you informed, relevant, and emotionally impactful. Instead of hiding to protect yourself, learn to navigate social environments with awareness and control. Influence grows in interaction, not in isolation. Law 19. Know whom you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. One of the most dangerous mistakes in seduction and power is assuming that everyone reacts the same way. People have different egos, different insecurities, different levels of pride, and different capacities for forgiveness. This law teaches that before you act, before you tease, before you withdraw, before you challenge, you must understand exactly who you are dealing with. Offend the wrong person, and the consequences can quietly destroy everything you have built. Robert Greene explains that some individuals can handle playful tension, sarcasm, or strategic distance. Others cannot. Some people forgive quickly. Others hold grudges for years. In seduction, misjudging personality is costly. A joke that flatters one person may deeply insult another. A small act of neglect might create desire in someone confident, but it may create resentment in someone insecure. The same move does not work on every mind. That is why observation is power. Greene emphasizes studying temperament. Is the person proud? Are they sensitive about status? Do they crave validation? Do they react strongly to criticism? Every individual has hidden weaknesses. If you accidentally strike those weaknesses, they may respond not with open confrontation, but with silent revenge. And revenge does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like withdrawal, gossip, subtle sabotage, or emotional coldness. Once someone feels humiliated, especially in front of others, their ego demands repair. And repairing ego often means damaging the source of the injury. This law is especially important when dealing with powerful or insecure people. Powerful individuals may appear calm, but they rarely forget disrespect. If their authority or pride feels challenged, they can use their influence against you. Insecure individuals, on the other hand, may react emotionally and unpredictably. Their response might be exaggerated compared to the offense. Greene warns that it is not always the strongest person who is most dangerous. Sometimes it is the one with the most fragile ego. Another key lesson of this law is control over your own impulses. It is easy to act out of pride. It is easy to respond sharply when you feel challenged. But emotional reactions often create enemies unnecessarily. A careless comment, a public correction, or a moment of visible superiority can plant seeds of resentment. Seduction requires long-term thinking. Winning a small argument may cost you a larger goal. If your aim is influence, you must learn when to step back. Greene also highlights that not everyone deserves the same strategy. Some people are naturally suspicious. Others are overly trusting. Some crave drama. Others avoid conflict completely. Your approach must adapt to personality. The mistake is using one fixed method on everyone. The intelligent seducer reads signals before acting. They test lightly. They observe reactions. If someone shows sensitivity, they adjust. If someone shows arrogance, they handle it carefully rather than confronting it directly. This law does not mean living in fear or becoming passive. It means being strategic. Before offending, ask yourself, is this worth it? What will this person's reaction be? Can they harm me socially, emotionally, or professionally? Sometimes the smartest move is controlled politeness. Respect does not weaken you. It protects you. Silence can be more powerful than a sharp response. Greene's deeper message is about awareness. Many failures in relationships and influence happen not because of bad strategy, but because of misjudgment of character. When you correctly understand someone's ego structure, you avoid unnecessary conflict. You know when to flatter, when to challenge, when to withdraw, and when to stay neutral. In the end, Law 19 teaches caution and intelligence. Every person carries pride. Some carry it quietly. Others carry it loudly. Offending the wrong person can create an enemy who waits patiently for the right moment. But when you understand personalities clearly and control your impulses, you avoid dangerous conflicts. True power is not just about bold moves. It is about knowing when not to make them. Law 20. Do not commit to anyone. Be the ultimate free agent. Commitment creates comfort, but it also creates limitation. This law teaches that in seduction and power, binding yourself completely to one side too early reduces your influence. The moment you show total loyalty or dependency, your value shifts. You become predictable. You become owned. And when someone feels they fully possess you, their effort decreases. Freedom, on the other hand, creates competition, tension, and respect. Robert Greene explains that when you commit yourself entirely to one person or one group, you close other doors. You limit your options. And in human psychology, The person with more options always holds more power. If others believe you have choices, social choices, romantic choices, emotional independence, they treat you with greater caution and appreciation. But if they sense you have nowhere else to go, they relax. They assume you will stay no matter what. That assumption reduces urgency. Being a free agent does not mean being disloyal or dishonest. It means maintaining independence. You do not cling. You do not beg for exclusivity. You allow people to feel that choosing you is a privilege, not an obligation. When you appear self-sufficient, others feel they must work to secure your attention. Scarcity increases value, and freedom creates scarcity. If your time and loyalty are not easily given, they become desirable. Greene also warns about the psychological trap of taking sides in conflicts. When you attach yourself too strongly to one side, you inherit their enemies. You reduce your flexibility. A free agent listens to all sides, but commits to none prematurely. This neutrality increases influence. People trust you because you are not blindly loyal. They see you as independent. And independence is attractive. In seduction, early commitment often kills excitement. When someone feels completely secure too soon, emotional intensity drops. Mystery fades. Challenge disappears. The free agent maintains a subtle distance. They give attention, but not possession. They show interest, but not dependency. This balance keeps attraction alive. People are naturally drawn to what feels slightly out of reach. Another important element of this law is emotional self-control. If you attach your happiness entirely to one person's approval, you lose power. Emotional dependence creates vulnerability. The free agent maintains inner stability. They enjoy connection, but they do not collapse without it. This strength creates admiration. When others see that you choose to be there rather than needing to be there, they value your presence more. Greene also suggests that flexibility allows you to adapt to changing situations. People's feelings change. Social dynamics shift. Opportunities appear unexpectedly. If you are rigidly committed, you cannot adjust. But if you maintain independence, you can move strategically. You can shift attention where it benefits you most. Freedom gives you control over your direction. However, this law does not promote coldness. It promotes strategic detachment. You can care without surrendering your autonomy. You can connect deeply without losing yourself. The key is balance. Total detachment makes you seem unreliable. Total commitment makes you seem predictable. The ideal position is in between, emotionally engaged, but not owned. Ultimately, Law 20 teaches that power lies in choice. The person who can walk away holds leverage. The person who is free to decide holds control. When you remain the ultimate free agent, others invest more effort, show more respect, and value your presence more deeply. Freedom is attractive because it signals strength. And in seduction, strength combined with mystery creates lasting influence. In conclusion, Laws 16 to 20 of the Art of Seduction show us that attraction and influence are built on strategy, awareness, and emotional control. Absence creates value. Unpredictability sparks fascination. Isolation weakens power. Knowing personalities prevents dangerous mistakes. And maintaining independence keeps you in control. These laws are not about manipulation or deceit. They are about understanding human nature and using that understanding to create meaningful impact. Seduction is as much about patience as it is about action. It is about timing, observing, and responding rather than forcing outcomes. By applying these principles thoughtfully, you can enhance your presence, deepen connections, and maintain respect. Remember, influence is strongest when it is subtle and deliberate. The goal is not to dominate others, but to inspire desire, curiosity, and admiration naturally. Master these laws, and you will not only understand the art of seduction, you will understand people on a deeper level, gaining insight into the rhythms of desire, attention, and emotional engagement that govern human interaction.